I am Sean Webb, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Zach Poitras, and this is Your Superior Self.
I'm Andy Mant, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Sue Jackson, and this is Your Superior Self.
I'm Ginny Sarasvati, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up, Superior Nation? Welcome back to Your Superior Self. I am Trey Downs, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Just got back from a 5 mile run with little baby Buki, and it was an amazing run. The weather is starting to turn a little bit colder, like fall's here already. It's crazy. And this is the perfect time to run. I love it. Didn't want to, though. My body has been sore for a couple of days now, but I'm pushing through, and I'm enjoying the moment, being in the moment with my baby. And it's been amazing. Today I have Nate Pio joining the show, fellow podcaster, fellow dad, fellow husband. His podcast is titled All In with Nate Pio. And we have an amazing conversation about a couple of different things. We talk about vision boards. We talk about goals. We talk about our belief systems in that, and it's pretty fun. Definitely excited for you guys to listen. And I've been thinking recently. I've been really meditating on life's mission for me, anyway. I've just been caught up on this idea, I want something, so I'm going to work and I'm going to bust my ass to get it. But I don't really fully give myself to it, right? Like I don't really fully, I believe that I can do it, but I don't know. That's the thing, right? I think you make that transformation, not just from the work, but for yourself. I think you make that transformation into achieving your goal when you actually know it's going to happen. Just know that it's going to happen, regardless of what you're doing. It's going to happen. Like when I plant that seed wherever, plant a seed for a tree. I go outside and I plant a seed. I know that the end result is going to be a tree is going to be there. But I have to go out there every day. I don't know when it's going to happen. I just know it's going to happen. I have to go out there, water that seed. I have to make sure the soil is fertile. I have to make sure there's no weeds. And I have to do the work every day to make sure that I can help this seed grow. And whatever your goals are, whatever your dreams are, just know that they can happen. Just know it. You have to know it. You can't believe it. You have to know it. You have to do the work every day that is going to produce that goal. And it may take time. That is the one thing that I've learned, where we're at in the moment. It takes time to get from point A to point B. It's going to take time. And the bigger the dream, the longer it's going to take. And a lot of people say, well, you just need to work harder. You just need to push yourself. And I feel like that's not the right answer. I feel like the more that you push, the more that you try to make something happen, the more resistance you meet. The more resistance. That's happened for me. It has to be natural. The work. You just have to do it. It's like a journey. You have to meet certain checkpoints. You just have to meet it. You can't rush through it, because you as an individual, it is your life journey. It is your own individual path, and each step of the way has to be met, or else it's going to repeat itself until you meet it. And that's what I've been seeing. Every step of the way, there are segments through my life race, and each checkpoint, if I'm not obtaining these certain lessons, if I'm not obtaining these certain goals, they'll just repeat themselves until I correctly complete them, and then I advance to the next level. And that's how I view it. But then again, I know that the end result, what it's going to be, and I know that I have to get up every day, and I have to do the things. I have to get out and run. I have to get out there and clear my mind. I have to shed all that crap off my soul and make sure that I can clear myself for the day so I can present the best possible version of myself. I have to come back and I have to meditate because I have to go inward to find the answers that I'm looking for. They're not going to be outside of me. They're not going to be in the external. They're not going to be outside of my being. All the answers that we need are within. We just have to take the time to quiet our bodies and our minds and find that. And then I have to do other things that are going to help me present a better version of myself, whether that's learn from books, read a ton of books about growth, self-development, things that are going to help me fine-tune my skills to, I guess water, that's going to be the water for the seed. Pulling the, I always say pulling the weeds is like running. Like the running is pulling the freaking weeds out, because I hate pulling weeds and I hate running, but it helps me grow. It helps me mentally clear my mind and get ready for the day. But these are the things that you have to do every day. But you have to know, like 100%, that your goal is going to be achieved. It takes two things. There's two variables that you just have to remember: action and time. These are the two certain absolutes to get to your goals. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just freaking noise or fear. Do the work and be patient and wait. Because at a certain point, if you look at a graph on an X and Y, at a certain point, your actions will meet the certain time in your life where they will produce these goals. Call me crazy, but I know it's going to happen for you. Anyway, getting back to why we're here today, it's to talk to Nate P.O., and here's a little version or a little section of what we discuss.
A 5-year goal for me wouldn't be like, oh, a podcast with so many listeners. It would be like, hey, I'm hanging out. I'm in the studio. The studio feels this way. These people are coming by. I got like a gym that's adjacent to it. I can, people are just like hanging out. It's a cool time. And my family's around. Like, you start visualizing it, and it's more like not so much like tasks and these things, but just this lifestyle, and just go, am I taking steps that's pursuing me to that lifestyle? And so if I'm visioning myself doing this, then I need to start moving in that direction instead of sitting on the couch and waiting for life to happen or forgetting about it and just letting it be a dream. Like,
yeah, buddy, this is going to be an amazing episode. I'm glad you guys are here to check it out. Before we get started, though, if you want to follow me on social media, you can do that on Instagram at tdowns80 and on Twitter at downstrey. If you want to check me out on the website, you can do that by going to yoursuperiorself.com. Leave me a message. I'm very interested in knowing what your side hustles are. What are your goals? Like, if you have a 5 to 10 year goal, that's fine. I know in the interview here I talk about how I don't like to put time limits on it, because who knows, it could take longer than 10 years. Let's say you don't meet, you don't meet your goal in 10 years. What are you going to quit? Like, I just don't like that. I think that your goal is your goal, and know that it's going to happen. It just happens when it happens. That's it. It could take you 50 years to do your goal, but I mean, you got to be dedicated to it, right? You got to want it for yourself. And when you make it, I'm sorry, I'm rambling here, but just one last thing. When you decide to take that first step towards your goal, you have to go all in, regardless. All in. Of time limits, I don't care. You have to go all in on your goal and get it done. So yeah, I'm fired up. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Nate P.O.
hey, I'm Nate P.O., and I'm your superior self.
Nate, man, what's going on, bro?
How you doing?
I appreciate
crazy times, right?
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I cannot believe what's going on. How are things over in Cali?
They are interesting, to say the least. They're, I think like everybody, we're under lockdown, quarantine, social distancing standards, and it's become I don't know. I think we're at this point where it just feels weary. And if you haven't been affected like really closely by what's going on, like know somebody personally that's gotten COVID, then I think your attitude is kind of like, hey, when are we going to get back to normal? But then the people that have been exposed to somebody knowing it personally that suffered from it, they have a different mindset. And then of course there's people in between. So it's this weird point where I think, people are getting cabin fever, they're getting stir crazy, and they're getting restless, and they want change, and nobody really knows what's going on.
Yeah, I think the misinformation that's been going around on like social media platforms and Facebook, especially, I think, and Twitter, it's been a killer for everyone. I think my wife, she's an RN and she's seen it firsthand, and my mom, she's an RN, and she's seen it firsthand. So like, I'm definitely a believer that COVID is a real thing. Now, I just don't get I understand it if people don't put that on social media. I don't think. They're not going to want to tell everybody if they. I would assume that people don't want to talk about it because it's like this taboo thing. Like, even if they have it, they're scared to even say that they have it because people are going to look at them differently. However, people are, I see quotes all the time on Facebook. Does anybody or you're friends with have COVID? And it's like, it doesn't matter. I think what we're doing as a nation, regardless of what your stance is, I think we're doing the right things by socially distancing and staying home and trying to, save lives of those that are vulnerable to this.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think the answer of just let's go back to life the way it was, let's open everything up. There's going to be regulations in place on how things open, and then people have to make a decision if it's still profitable for them to be in business that way, how that's going to happen. Even if somebody told you, hey, your favorite restaurant's open for in table dining, are you going to go or not go? Like, those are like these weird questions that even if you just kind of go like, hey, we need to open it up, is it really even open, or is it still like? So I kind of pulled myself out of, like you said, a lot about social media, misinformation going on. And I, maybe the last 3 or 4 days, just kind of thought to myself, like, hey, I don't know enough about this either way. I just know I'm not supposed to be out doing stuff, and I can do what I can do. I can be at home. I can do my work. I can work on the things I'm working on, just kind of deal with it and not get into the, I read this over here, or I heard this over here. Like, does knowing it really matter that much? Like, or should I just do what I, stay with what I can control, which is definitely not a lot of that stuff that goes on social media.
Yeah,
just
right.
Not get bothered and burdened down by a lot of thoughts in my head that just, hey, what difference does it make?
Just like,
it makes a difference, but it's like,
it does.
It doesn't, like, if they said I could, I didn't, I'm still here. I'm still doing what I can do. So
yeah. Staying home, and look, I get it. It's a weird freaking time, man. Like, and it's funny how everyone on Facebook now is a fucking like biologist and like chemist and like fucking, researcher and knows all these statistics, and they're reading shit that they don't know anything about. It's like, you're seeing exactly the same thing that happened with the election. You're seeing misinformation, and people that believe this shit believe like anything out there. It's like, I don't know. For me, I had to take a step back because I'm not qualified to make a lot of this. Like, I'm not qualified to take some information and say, all right, well, this seems accurate, this seems truthful, I'm gonna spread this around Facebook. Like, I can't, because next thing you know, I go to another source and it seems like they're printing the opposite. So it's like, you know what, I'm just going to stand back and let the professionals do their jobs. For once in my life, I'm going to listen to the government and the authorities and just take their advice and just say, all right, you know what, I'm still allowed to go outside, I just can't go to my favorite bar, and that's okay. I'll support them when they come back, and whatever I got to do. But for the time being, I'm not sure. So I'm just going to kind of, just do what I got to do.
There was a meme on social media of all places that is relatable to that. And it's kind of stuck with me recently was, hey, having the opinion of, I don't know enough about this to have an opinion is actually a good thing. Like, you don't have to just decide one way or the other about anything just because you're supposed to. Like, hey, it's okay to say, I'm not that well versed in a lot lot of things too.
Shit,
talk
dude,
a
like,
lot about it as an expert.
Yeah. Like, I don't have my PhD in biochemistry. I'm not in the labs like removing proteins from strands that shit that I've never heard of. I'm out here in the world just like you and I are just out here just trying to find our ways and be the best fathers that we can be and teach our kids, from distance learning, which it sucks. I'm just being honest. Like, I'm very grateful for the time that we live in where technology, I can do that. But when you have two kids that don't want to do the freaking work, it's tough. And especially when you're trying full time, it's like, you're not teaching them anything. It's just like you're trying to you're like forcefully make them do the work. And they fight you, they fight you. They physically fight you.
Well, I think there's something like, at least for my son, like he hasn't had a lot of interaction with kids his own age for a lot of weeks. And he's very social to begin with, and he needs that interaction. I just been thinking a lot about that. Like, kids need to be around some other kids and have this interaction. And when they don't, they become aggressive. They act out. They do things for attention. They do things that gets on your nerves. And to mix in like, okay, now I'm dad and I'm going to teach you your schoolwork. Like, you're not, the teacher. You're not the person that they're used to respecting in that position. And so like they know you as dad and they're like, hey, well, we know how to get you all riled up. We know how to push your buttons. And it's tough. I'm thankful that I'm not in a position to be dealing with that right now, because
so you have one kid, right?
I have one 3-year-old, and then we have another one on the way. She'll be born at the end of July. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Talk about another weird thing to be doing in this time.
Whatever you
having
do,
a baby.
Just don't name your kid like Elon Musk did. Like did you see the baby's name?
I did, and I was like, that has to be fake. That just has to be fake. And then I kept seeing it around, and I was like, geez. Wow.
I mean, good for them. Good on them if they want to name it like that. But can you imagine trying to spell that in school? Like, I think there's named after a rocket or some kind of I don't know what it is. I don't even know how you pronounce it, but it's just weird. But tell us more about you, man. What do you got going on? What's up with you? I know you got a podcast.
So lately, and that's one thing that's been a blessing out of this COVID is being at home. I used to commute an hour one way, hour and a half back. And I was just launching my podcast right kind of when this happened. And so I've had this extra time at home to record podcasts and really get kind of busy with it, which has been a ton of fun. I created a podcast out of, it's like, I don't consider myself a podcaster with a goal to be a famous podcaster with a big show. I view it as a tool to help on a mission that I've been on, a self-development mission for a long time, for probably as long as I've been an adult out of college pursuing a career. But I've done a lot of stuff that's self-sabotaging, self-doubt, and never really did the things I knew I needed to do if I wanted to really live a life I was capable of living. So I thought about it, over the last 8-9 months. I was like, hey, if I want to do something that I feel like I had a calling to do something bigger than what I was currently doing. Like, I could help more people, but I didn't know what that looked like. Had no idea what it looked like. I liked entrepreneur space, but I didn't really want to go start my own business. And I liked consulting. I liked advising. I was just like, hey, you know what? All I know is every time I've gone out and kind of like put myself in a general direction of an idea that I wanted to get more depth and knowledge about, like I've expanded my network of people I knew. Good things came about. I had ideas, people that I never would have been exposed to otherwise happen. And over time, those relationships have built out and they've been fruitful. So I thought, hey, what would happen if I just said, hey, stop being afraid to step into yourself. Stop being the person that, hey, I want to do something, but I can't because of XYZ. And a lot of it has to do with, if I want to help a lot of people, I need to be on a platform to be visible so that I can help more people and I can essentially attract more people into my life that I can have a connection with and impact. And like, if I can't be relatable and I can't be presentable in public, like I can't get to that level. Like there's some limiting beliefs I'm putting on myself. So I have to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I started meeting, well, actually what ended up happening was a friend of mine that was in the same industry as I am. She started down the same path, and she was, maybe like a year ahead of me. And she's like posting all this stuff about, different than anything she was known for. Like I knew her as a salesperson in our building industry selling products. And all of a sudden she's talking about life coaching, motivation, all this stuff. And I was just like, I got to talk to you about, what are you doing? Like, what is up? Like what's going on? Like, are you up to something? Are you like selling product? Are you doing MLM on the side? Like, and she's like, no, I felt called to do more, and I'm taking it down this path. I'm like, well, how do you reconcile this version of you that everybody knows you of, professional salesperson, this person, and you're over here doing something that maybe people would think is, this side project, this side hustle, and you're devoting like more of your energy to a side hustle than you are to your known traits. And she's like, no, it's not like that at all. And we had this like really long conversation, this self-discovery about it. And I was, and like at the end of it, I was like, you know what? Like she's doing it because she's compelled to do it. And like, if you met her, you'd be like, this person's super outgoing. They're super friendly. They just take challenges by the horns and just ride with it. So it's no surprise that she's doing it. But then when we talked about it, she was telling me all the fears she had, all the struggles she had. And she's just like, I have to be this person that pushes myself through, or I would fall into this trap of self-doubt. And if you've been in this trap of self-doubt where you think you can do better, like when you put it away for a while, it itches you, it scratches you, and you want to come back to it. Like you can't put it away. And I was like, it's going to come back. So I just got to kind of embrace it. And I just thought to myself, like, I'll just do it. I'll do it for like a year solid, just put in a lot of effort of getting outside of my comfort zone. If somebody wants to meet, say yes. If you have an opportunity to go somewhere, go. If you want to do this, do it, and just see what happens. And in a year, hey, reevaluate. If it's not working, don't do it. If it is working, kind of ride it out and see this experiment. Because I've also looked back on my career and said, hey, remember when I was getting started in life and trying to do this, and I had like career aspirations, and I go, all right, in 1 year, I wanted to be at this. Well, I didn't get there. I'd get frustrated in year 2, not quite there too, but I had like 5-year, 10-year goals. And along the way, lost track of what I was doing in the 1 year, 2 year range. But now I look back on it and go, hey, I've surpassed those 5 or 10 year goals by just blowing them away, just completely exceeded my expectations. So if I also apply that to what I'm doing right now of just going, hey, put yourself out there and just know no matter what happens, you're going to underestimate what's going to come of it in 5 years. So just know, trust the process, do a lot, see what happens. No journey, no destination, no like idea of like, I'm going to sell something, just kind of like see where it goes. And I've been on that for like 6 months now. And then that kind of led to the podcast. It really came through a Gary Vee video. And he was talking about people should do podcasts because it's like that kid in high school that wasn't that cool, but his parents went away on the weekend. So he'd have a party, and then the cool kids would come to his house to the party. By default, he became cool. And like a podcast is a little bit like that. It allows you to reach out and connect with people that maybe are outside of your normal circle of influence. They may be people you look up to, people, especially like people like that wouldn't take your call under other circumstances. But if you have a podcast, now there's a reason to connect. Even if it's like, hey, I just want to meet my ideal client. If you have a podcast, you could be like, hey, I want to call this person that's my ideal client and say, hey, I want to invite you on my podcast. I want to talk about what you got going on, this, and this, and get your take on an industry. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, let's do it. And then now you've developed a relationship with that person, and you can take it to wherever it needs to go next, instead of it being like, hey, I want to call you and tell you about my product I want to sell it to you. So I was just kind of, hey, I'm going to see where this goes. It's another way of putting myself out there in a position that's really uncomfortable for me personally. And it's going to challenge me. It's going to, and so I did it. And I just kind of look at it as just, hey, it's another tool in the toolbox to cast a bigger net, meet more people. And also to, as you meet cool people, share their message with other people. And you're just kind of like giving back, like, hey, I met this cool person, come on my show. Let me tell other people about what you got going on. See if I can connect you to some other people. They'll help you out. And it's been a ton of fun. And I'm amazed in just a short amount of time, all the cool people I've met, where it's going. And I'm just like, hey, imagine this in 5 years. If you just kept it up, like what could happen?
Yeah, I was the same way when I first started mine. However, I had to get over the fact that I didn't. I wanted to do this. Like I wanted to have a big podcast show. Like I want to grow it to something that's bigger. But that's just me being authentic with myself and putting it out there. Like I mean, my one of my main goals is to have Rogan on, and I'm a big fan of his. And just bullshit and just talk about life. And I had Aubrey Marcus on the show. Who would have thought that? After 3 years of doing the show, Aubrey came on, and I was able to connect with him and build a relationship with him and talk with him. And like you had said earlier, like the whole podcasting platform takes you places that you never thought you would ever go. And I love it because just for that fact that I get to hang out online with some pretty cool people, and have some genuine, authentic conversation about who knows what, whatever happens.
Well, you talked about like two things there. You're like, hey, I want to have a big podcast and I want to have Joe Rogan on the podcast. Well, you're not going to get either of those things happening if you're sitting at home afraid to do it. One. Yeah. Two, like you got to, you're chatting with Aubrey Marcus, which if people don't know, that's like one of Joe Rogan's business partners that on it. Right. And so it's like, it's one person away from Joe Rogan. That's one person away to an introduction to actually having that goal accomplished. But the other thing is when we look and say, hey, I want to have a big podcast. I want to have Joe Rogan on my podcast. That's a huge, huge goal to have. And it seems impossible to do. But look at Joe Rogan's first podcast. Look at Gary Vee's first Wine Library TV shows. Like they are so unproduced. They are so like different from where they are now. And you go, hey man, these guys did it because they had like a big following. They had big budgets. They just were well-known actors and superstars. And you're like, no, everybody started somewhere from nothing. And you just got to put one foot in front of the other. And if you do that consistently over time and you push your boundaries, like you're going to get closer and closer to that goal. There's no way around it.
Gary Vee, it took him a long time. I mean, you just got to be prepared to do the work. Like people, like I'm invested in this. Like I'm willing to go the long haul. Like I am willing to go 10 years. Like I just know that that's what it's going to take. Like, and that's what you have to be committed to. People that become doctors, that you're going to go to, medical school, and it's going to take 8 years or whatever, 8+ years, and then residency. You want to be a dentist. You want to be whatever. You commit to that, and you just know it's going to be that. Now, is my show going to be eventually the biggest? Probably not. It's not going to be Joe Rogan, but that's my goal, and you just got to commit to something. I think, like any goal, you got to commit to it and do the work. Now, the 5 and 10 year goal stuff, I kind of don't put limits on it. What I try to do is do the best that I can in the day, because I'll kill myself otherwise if I don't. I do the best that I can. What inspires me throughout the day, whether it's run or work out or read a book or whatever, watch YouTube and try to reinvest in myself, is the fact that, it's helping out my future self, right? Like, so 5 years from now, whatever I'm doing now is definitely going to help out that version of myself 5 years from now. Like I can't write on a board, like a vision board, and say in 5 years, I want to be here. Man, I just can't do that. I don't like that idea. What I like is what I just said. It's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to bust my ass and knowing that I'm helping out. That's the best way to help out my 5 year self, is freaking get up there at 4 o'clock in the morning and go run my ass off. Go read a book, go read a shit ton of books. I just, what the work entails. You just have to do it. Yeah.
You just got to keep waking up, showing up every day, pushing the ball a little bit further. I have this like idea too, like every day, just do your best. And sometimes your best is just, you just showed up and it's all you got. But other days you're going to get the ball moved a little bit further. And I actually stopped having the 5-year goals. I don't like long-term goals. I feel like they become tasks, and tasks don't have a lot of fulfillment. Tasks is like a to-do list to me. And so I started changing it to be like a vision of a lifestyle that I feel like I wanted. And so a 5-year goal for me wouldn't be like, oh, a podcast with so many listeners. It would be like, hey, I'm hanging out. I'm in the studio. The studio feels this way. These people are coming by. I got like a gym that's adjacent to it. I can, people are just like hanging out. It's a cool time. And my family's around. Like, you start visualizing it, and it's more like not so much like tasks and these things, but just this lifestyle, and just go, am I taking steps that's pursuing me to that lifestyle? And so if I'm visioning myself doing this, then I need to start moving in that direction instead of sitting on the couch and waiting for life to happen or forgetting about it and just letting it be a dream. Like, try to live a life without regret and without, I wish I had done more. I wish I had started sooner. Like, can't do anything about that. So just do what we can do today. And over time, it's going to add up and take us places.
So you have a vision board with a Lamborghini on it, and
I have one with a Ferrari, which is interesting because, like, right now I'm in this overcoming limiting beliefs mode, and I'm not necessarily somebody that like craves things, material things, and like having if I got a Ferrari, I thought about, like, would I really just be like, oh, I got a Ferrari, and be like, well, I don't want to drive anywhere because I don't want to scratch it and I don't want to like do it, and it's too fast for me to handle? Or do I like the idea behind, what a lifestyle Ferrari would be? Yeah. But I thought to myself, like, okay, is that just me saying you wouldn't get a Ferrari because you think it's too far out there? Like, you'd have to make too much money for it to be, to be able to afford it. And like, what I mean by affording it is like the dollar value it costs compared to the level of money you have. So like, if I only had $200,000, buying a $200,000 car is probably not going to feel too good to me. You know what I mean? But if I had $1 billion, 200,000 is like somebody that's got $100 and it costs like, 25 cents. So it's like, it's a different mindset. And it's just kind of like, hey, I need to readjust these limiting beliefs of what I'm capable of, and not be like, oh, I want to make enough money that I could just barely stretch and get into a Ferrari to look cool. But more like, hey, I'm going to put a Ferrari on my vision board because I want to put myself in a position where if I felt like I wanted to buy one, it wouldn't be a second thought of, could I afford it or not? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, hey, I just need to stop having a limiting belief of myself around money. And
what else you got up there?
Shit, let me pull it up. I got some stuff. I got family on the center. That's important to me. I got the Ferrari I told you about. Three things on it is I try to put like a place where I'd want to live, a place I want to travel, and like some bucket list stuff. So for me, I've had a big passion to do the Camino de Santiago walk, which is like this pilgrimage walk where you walk from the Pyrenees in France to the Camino de Santiago, which is in Spain. There's a movie about it called The Way or On the Way or something like that. And it takes a significant amount of time. It's like a couple, I don't know, probably like a 6 or 8 week walk. So it's not something like you could just go, I'm going to take 2 weeks off and go do it. And you're going to have to,
you got the plan
a little bit to do it. So I've had this idea of doing it, and I've been struggling with this idea of like, is this going to be something I always dreamed about doing, but if I can't pursue it, or is it something I'm going to pursue? So I made sure that that's on there. I got a house on the beach because, hey, why not? I think the idea of having family and the friends over and the memories you create around a calm beach house, that compels to me. I want to get to Italy. I want to see the Amalfi Coast. I got a picture of that on it. That's kind of like this like lifestyle stuff. And then what I did with my vision board is really just a PowerPoint that I started putting pictures in. So I got the next PowerPoint is about kind of stuff around some individual personal goals, things that I got right now. I got my podcast up there. I've got a crowd of people stand there because I've wanted to do a public speaking thing, and I wanted to actually get paid, even if it's just $1 to do a public speaking engagement. So I put that up there to kind of like say, hey, we're gonna pursue a course to put you in front of a crowd of people speaking. I want to take those thoughts like around the podcast, as I'm doing a podcast, I'm finding a voice. And as I'm finding a voice, it's going to evolve into a keynote speech. And that keynote speech could be expanded into a book. So I want to write a book. And then I have some stuff around just like goals, I guess, that are milestone goals that I think are achievable, but they're outside of my comfort right now. Like a $20,000 a month download off of Libsyn on my podcast. And the only arbitrary thing with that is like, I think that's like the minimum you can meet to kind of like qualify for their advertising platform. So I was like, okay, that's a good number to use. And then I got a picture of an ideal guest, like you had said, Joe Rogan's like your dream guest. Like right now, Robin Narzone, she's the head fitness instructor for Peloton. Like she's a ball of energy and super motivational. And she's like this person, like, hey, that would be a cool person to connect with on a podcast.
Sure.
Then the next page, I guess, is some ideas to represent this. Like I love, what I love about Joe Rogan is that he just focuses on projects he wants to focus on. And that is it. Like he doesn't do things he doesn't feel like he's invested in emotionally. So I'm like, that's kind of what I want. I want like a place where like I go to get to work. Like my workplace would be this like man cave, not even man cave, but just a cool place where it's like, hey, it's got this gym and it's got my office and it's got like this podcast. So it's just kind of all the things I want to do project wise in one spot. So like you go and it would be a gym, but there'd be this energy of people that I like working out with and hanging out with, and this energy of that. But then there'd also be the podcast studio so people could drop by, and then there would be like an office to do the stuff. Did you ever see that documentary called Mr. Cartoon? Or no, it's called it's on Netflix right now. It's LA Original. That's what it's called.
LA Original. No, it's very
LA
familiar
Original.
now.
So it's this story of these two guys that they kind of were back behind the scenes of 80s, 90s, it would be like 90s rap. Like they kind of came up with House of Pain and then Cypress Hill. And then one guy's a tattoo artist and the other guy was he just documented, he was like the road manager. He took all these photos. And so like everybody, I didn't know who they were until I watched this thing, but I guess they're pretty much icons in LA. And they had this tattoo shop and they had this rap studio. And so like everybody that was anybody came in to get tattooed, to record. So they had just like cool people coming in and out, like Eminem, Kobe Bryant, all these just people, like you got to get your, so I was just like, hey, that's kind of like this atmosphere I want to have. It's just this like mecca of cool people dropping in, hanging out. It's like you go to work and you don't know who's going to show up, who's going to be there. And it's just a lot of fun.
That's an awesome kind dream, dude.
Yeah. So that's kind
amazing.
Of photos that represent that. And then just some reminders of some other things I have interest in is angel investing and helping startup businesses through like impact investing, people that are making a difference in the world. So I put some some things up there to remind me of that. I got, a bunch of cash up there again to kind of get past this idea in my head, a limiting belief about is being successful a bad thing. And that puts some entrepreneurs I'm kind of looking up to right now that I think I admire their work ethic, that just put in a ton of work, like The Rock, Ed Milet, Impact Theory guy Tom Bilyeu. He's in the same picture as Ed Milet. That's why he's up there. Probably pronounced his name wrong. Joe Rogan, Andy Frisella, and then Elon Musk. I think those people just, they have this amazing work ethic of just relentlessly pursuing their passions, and they're doing stuff that's making a difference. And I think that's kind of what I want to do. So that really kind of sums up my vision board right there.
It's awesome, man. That's awesome. Like Nate, what success, right? Like you talked a lot about your vision board, but really, I mean, so I don't know a lot about your background. It sounds like you're a coach. I saw something on your website about fitness. So are you a fitness coach?
No, I am. Technically, I say I'm a professional buyer. I work in the residential building industry as a professional buyer. I negotiate material contracts, I negotiate subcontracts, I manage construction projects. I do this like development and building thing. So I'm not a coach yet, or have decided to pursue that passion. I call myself a fitness enthusiast. I like so many different types of fitness. I like, I'll do CrossFit for a while. I'll just do weights in the gym. I'll do yoga. I'll do other things. I think, I just like the energy of new people, new ways of doing stuff, variety in movement and exercise. It just, that feeling when you just push yourself really hard, Sure. You're all sweaty, your endorphins pumped up. I love that. And so I just kind of bounce around to different people to do that. So, that's it. Like I'm just on a mission of self-discovery.
So you got a day job, right? You got a day job.
Yeah, I do.
Then this is your side hustle, essentially. This branding, this messaging, this platform building.
Yeah, it's turning into a side hustle, I think. Yeah, for sure.
It's awesome, man. Congratulations, dude.
Getting
outside of your limiting beliefs. That's half the battle, man. Like actually believing in yourself that you can do it. I will give you a great source of inspiration, it's called, it's a website. It's like a masterclass kind of thing. creativelive.com. It is, Chase Jarvis is the CEO of that. And it's like masterclasses that, I'm a big fan of Stephen Kotler and flow, and what you're describing, the endorphins and the runner's high and things like that is a part of flow. And Stephen Kotler books, I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
Yep, for sure.
I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fanboy of his work. His new book that just came out, The Future. What is it? Something. I'm a big fanboy. I can't remember the name of the book. The Future is Faster Than You Think is with Peter Diamandis. I love that book because it talks about tech, and it talks about where we're going in the future with Uber Air and what that looks like. And but I learned.
I didn't read the book. I was just gonna say he was on Ed Milet's podcast. I heard him talking about just how fast things are gonna come at us, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, tech is exponentially growing every day. I mean, Uber Air is going to be taking off, no pun intended, in 2023, and it's going to be a game changer for us. I mean, we're looking at things now, like vertical agriculture. I think that should be more focused on in urban areas. I think where you take these warehouses and you build them and you create these farms, and you lose. You consume 90% less of water what you would do in some of these suburban areas. And I think a lot of these, it's like these books that you read in your entrepreneurial, I don't know, it's like the entrepreneurial sense starts tingling. Like you're like, oh my God, why aren't we doing that now? And I follow Peter Diamandis as well. He has a blog that I subscribe to, and I follow him pretty closely. But Creative Live is a great resource for you and probably your listeners as far as tapping into your creative juices and helping you solidify that voice and that message. His book changed my life in the sense that it gave me more confidence to get outside of my comfort zone. It's Creative Matters.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
He's a great dude.
Did you ever read the book? It's Stephen Case called The Third Wave.
Stephen Case, the third. No, I don't think so.
The guy, so Steve Case was the founder of AOL, and he's talking about the third wave of internet technology, which is really essentially the Internet of Things. And the first wave was getting people on the internet. That was like the infrastructure, getting internet to people's places of business. It was AOL, it was dial-up, and then the wave Internet 2.0 was what we know it now. It became blogging, social media, and all this stuff. And if you were in the tech boom of wave 2.0, it was easy for you as a tech startup to go, hey, me and you, let's go out in the garage and start coding, and we'll come up with some cool shit, and there'll be 6 of us. We'll sell it for $100 million, and we'll make it and rock it. Well, the third wave is this idea of the Internet of Things and collecting all this data, like you're saying, to do vertical farming or the Uber Airs, or just like
face recognition and stuff like that. It's going to be more interactive tech. It's going to be it's going to be AI. It's going to be virtual reality. Virtual reality, it's going to be everywhere, man. That Pokemon Go game that everybody was getting accidents and shit. Like, you're going to see more of that. Like, the kids are going to be running around with Google glasses and playing that shit. Like, it's going to, Web 3.0 is that. It's the interactive form, where 1 was very, getting people on. 2 is like what we're at now. And then 3 is going to be, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah. But the thing that he was talking about in 3 was, it's not going to be so much that you're going to be able to start it up in your garage. You're going to need significant capital, because it's going to take a lot of capital to roll out all this data and make it useful. Because it could be the way, you're redistributing farmland and how you rotate crops and how things get done, and taking areas. And I think this COVID thing is going to change things a lot and accelerate it. And the fact that people are really going to realize you don't necessarily have to live where you live to do the work you need to be done. So there'll be this, like, if you say, hey, well, we can't move out of the Bay Area because that's where all the people work. That's where all the people are. All the smart people are coming out of Silicon Valley. Well, now if you can work remotely, like, why can't you do all this stuff in Podunk, Nebraska? And less cost of living, lower cost of capital, or of the space you need to develop these things, but all you're still really, really smart people could still work on it from remotely. So I don't know enough about it to really say, hey, this is what's going to happen, huge prediction. But I just feel this in my gut that people are adopting remote ways of connecting with each other and remote ways of doing each other in a way we've never been able to do before. So I think there's just going to be a massive change that's going to pivot, and we're going to see some really cool things happen that just weren't available.
Yeah, absolutely. You're seeing it now. I think companies now are kind of like becoming more aware that they can actually have people work from home and get things done. I think you're seeing a lot of the baby boomers realize that. It took a fucking pandemic for them to realize that, but they're starting to realize that. But like Tesla, the Elon Musk, man, like he supposedly, according to a lot of these blogs that I'm reading, has like a rocket that you can get anywhere, like in the world, like in an hour. So you can like essentially go from Japan to fucking New York in an hour. And then it's going back to the working remotely. There are some articles and things on Peter Diamandis's website about avatars, where you can like log into your avatar can go anywhere in the world. Like if you're giving, like you're talking about keynotes or something like that, like I could like when the technology gets there, I can do a keynote from right here in my office or my studio. Like my avatar can be over in LA and show up and be that move how I move and things like that. And and guide people through the keynote, and I can be sitting in my office, and there you go. I mean, avatar and virtual reality and AI, I mean, that's a real thing that's coming.
That's crazy to think about. Crazy stuff.
It is crazy. I mean, think about, this is, I mean, 2030. I mean, who knows what that's going to bring. Hopefully, we'll be in a better place, but I mean, 2020 has been a wild ride. Let's just get through this first, and then we'll see what 2030 brings.
Yeah, for sure.
So Nate, I appreciate you coming on. How can people find out more about you?
One place I'd send them is to natepeo.com, Nate, P as in Paul, E as in Echo, O as in Orange.com. And from there, you can see what's going on and connect with me on other platforms pretty easily from there. The podcast is there, as well as all my social media links.
It's awesome. How many episodes do you got?
I think I've released 12, but I've recorded close to 30. So I originally was like, hey, I'll go one a week, and clearly it's not being posted enough. So I just this week started doing 2 a week, and I'm probably in about 2 weeks going to go 3 a week, and might stick at that spot for a little bit and kind of slow the pace down of recording and see where this goes. I'm having a blast.
just learn along the way, man. That's how you learn.
Yeah,
it's by
sure.
experience,
Yep.
That's awesome, dude. Wrapping it up, I like to ask my guests, it's a fun question for me because it catches them off guard. But, when it's all said and done with, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, but, what do you want your legacy to be?
I thought about this, and it's a bit morbid, but, I would like that if people were coming to my funeral, that somebody would say, hey, I'm going to make a trek to Nate's funeral because he made a really big impact on my life, and I never got a chance to say thank you to him or his family, and I just want to make a pilgrimage there. And they would come and they would show up, and there would be a bunch of other people in that same boat that just thought that they were the only one that I made a big difference in, and just like all these people come in and just say, hey, look, my life was changed directly or indirectly because of the help I did, what I gave to the community, to people. And they just, they're just, hey, that was just somebody that just really, truly cared and gave without expectations and never really asked for anything back in return.
That's awesome, Nate. Brother, this has been fun. I appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate
coming on too. It was a great time. Enjoyed chatting with you.
I want to say thank you to Nate for joining the show. I want to say thank you to you, the listener, for downloading this and taking the time out of your busy schedules to actually download and listen. Thank you. Please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts from. It helps me scale the show. It helps me get this out to those who may need it the most. And I want to hear from you. I want to know what your goals and your dreams are. Go to yoursuperiorself.com. Leave me a message. Let me know what you guys are up to. And always work at them. Never stop. Don't quit. Know that they will come true if you keep doing the right things. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later.